I am absolutely glad someone asked that question. So I talk about my my near-death experience. It was near death, not dead. And the fact that I was still a little boy and that I knew what I was being shown is so that I could understand because I was still a little boy. And I say it was it was not a religious experience. It was so much more than man's concept of religion. And that's why I couldn't find it here. And I had someone say, "Yeah, but you said that you went in and out of the asshole of religion and that you were a Jesus freak at one time." I was. I was. I understand the ecstasy that these people feel. You see, that was very convenient for me because I know God exists. They showed me God, and He wasn't where I was at. There was a barrier between us. Okay? Huh. It wasn't religious in any sense, in any way. As a matter of fact, religion was one of those was one of the evils of men. One of the bad things, not one of the good things. It wasn't like where I was. I was shown in a way that I could relate. And that's why people see religious figures, they see relatives. In my case, I saw two little girls, one older, one much younger. And she obviously knew me and she said, "You're not supposed to be here." So experiences vary and it's because it's so hard for a human mind to function there. Um, I think religion sprang from the near-death experience. That's what I think, is that uh, up to 100,000 people a year have near-death experience. It's not rare. It's just not understood, and it's put in a category of psychic phenomenon. But then you have rational thinking doctors who cannot explain things that people who died on the table said, "I saw this certain device in your pocket." She described the device that she saw, and the doctor was blown away. Do you know why? Because she was blind. She'd been blind since birth. She said, "I'm assuming that the color of your shirt was blue because of how it had been described." And he was wearing a blue apron in scrubs. And she described a certain device that he had stuck in his pocket. And after that, he started looking and studying the near-death experience, as many doctors do, because they're on the front lines of this, as well as hospice workers. I have spent 30 years trying to understand the science behind the near-death experience. Is quantum mechanics the fundamental essence of the universe, non-collapsed wave function? Is there a way to explain what I saw? And not just that, but understand who I was and plant. Because as they showed me my life, picked my mom right up to the moment I drowned, and then from there, You know, there quite a bit went on before they actually showed me what it would be like when I went back. Okay, I want to make that clear because I got tricked into coming back. Is how I kind of feel. You're shown in a way that is real for you, and my real was, okay, I'm going to ask these questions. What's the answer? And I would be told the answer, and it would be earth-shattering information. The why is this place? Why do we do this? And you have to do this, otherwise you can't continue on. You have to live in this existence, and it's the information you create. I'm not sure that sentience doesn't come from God himself. And that's the only conclusion I can come from, is like he's the power source for all sentient life. That's where sentient comes from. Consciousness is developed. I think consciousness has more to do with evolution than sentience. I think sentience is the product that the universe is designed to produce. That it's the only thing of value. It's the only thing of value. Nothing has value in the universe. It's all made of the same stuff. Sentience isn't. Consciousness. I talk about Roger Penrose all the time, and shit. So, come on, hammer off. So there's I see 3 videos here. That Hammeroff and Penrose. Penrose had no idea. We're talking about the guy who's, Hawking took up after. He was his sensei was Penrose. And I love the way he communicates with the pictures and the drawings, because I do function exactly like that. He wasn't aware of microtubules, and that they almost look like digital data. It's weird. There's a couple of videos, and especially the ones where Roger Penrose is showing drawings that he did of the microtubules, and how if you cut a microtubule laterally and you laid it open, it would look just like digital data. Really a trip. And you have more tubulin. Those are the little yes-nos in the digital data that your microtubules are made up of. You have more tubulin than you have neurons in your brain. And this all started with Hammeroff being an anesthesiologist studying dissociative drugs. He wanted to know where we went. Where did the consciousness go where you could cut someone in half with a chainsaw and they wouldn't feel it? Where is consciousness and sentience hiding? Because your brain's not active. Your brain's not active. They have to put a flashing light in front of your eye and a click in your ear. And the anesthesiologist watches the flashes in your eye and the click in your ear, and he's monitoring your blood pressure and everything. That's how they take care of you when you're somewhere else. And Hammeroff surmised that we receded into our microtubule system. That was the moment that it hit me like a bolt of lightning. I said, that's the connection. See? Is the reason you have a near-death experience, or that some people that experience a DMT trip, they say they went to another dimension and were talking to advanced beings. Well, those kind of beings exist all over the universe. Time and space is what traps us. Okay? And I believe, I've always said that I believe DMT allows leakage from your microtubule system. You just leak it into the next dimension just a little bit. That's what that molecule does. Religion was my way of blending my near-death experience, understanding and knowing there's a God, with a way to have other people that I could tell my near-death experience to. They wouldn't think I was fucking crazy because God was involved. Sneaky, huh? Yeah, see, I didn't understand a lot of my voyage. I didn't understand because of the PTSD of growing up in a very dysfunctional family. And I didn't really, the events happened that, in retrospect, yes, I understand those now, where I became aware of things when I was supposed to. Like it's like a voyage or a journey. Because I did agree to come back. I did agree I'm not going to commit suicide. I did agree that I would spend the rest of my time telling people that, number one, suicide is a futile event. And that if you don't finish what you're supposed to do, then there's going to be a space in the crystal, and that can't be. God is perfect. So in his grace, you go to this place where near-death people are at. There were other souls there. And they said, you don't have to, you don't have to go back if you don't want to. You can stay here for as long as you want. But you can't have that. And that is when they turned me and showed me the pillar of God and all the sentient beings that had ever existed there. And I knew I had to go back because having smothered in love and understanding and acceptance was nothing compared to God. Having all knowledge, right then, having all knowledge did not compare to being with God. And I knew I had to go back. And I said, okay, I'll go back. That's when they showed me the rest of my life. And there were little snippets that I kind of looked at my life and I saw every tiny second of it. But in reality, what I did was I picked out certain events. I don't know why, but they've all come true. Because every time I questioned, I questioned my mission, something would happen to bitch slap me back into reality and go, holy fuck, man, that's scary, okay? Shit that couldn't, there's not chance, not deja vu. I'm talking about very long periods of, oh fuck. I remember this in exquisite detail. Weird shit. And that's taken me out of religion, not into religion, because I would understand, okay, now the purpose is to not do that. If people don't understand or don't believe you, that's okay. People who've had a near-death experience, they'll understand what you're saying. But other people, it's going to be hard to convince them, okay, that there's nothing to fear from death, okay, that this is part of a process, and that all the information you've ever created from the very moment that you opened your eyes and took your first breath, it's all there, perfect. Perfect. Every picosecond, every Planck time, everything is in perfection maintained. And that is way beyond a human being's thinking. I can tell you, however God does that it's like trying to explain your iPhone to an amoeba. I like using that as my reference point. But it was really, really many, many times even more than that. So there's a purpose and a reason, okay? if you don't finish your timeline, you go right where I was, and you can stay there as long as you want, smothered in love and understanding. Okay, but I can tell you right now, I don't think anyone decides to stay there because God is just that much greater. And we all decide to come back. The trouble is just like the multiverse theory that everybody postulates, okay? We keep going in the one where you didn't decide to stay with us, where you decided that taking your life was the easy way out. We just keep on going. But you'll come back and be born at the same time, to the same parents, go to the same school, make the same choices, okay? Right up into the moment when you decide to make the bad choice and change and not change your mind. So that's my mission, is to tell people, number one, suicide is a horrible waste of time. You could do it a million times. You could do it a million times, but you will never stop trying because that's how important God is. It's a self-torturing thing, I imagine. I often ask myself, how many times did I do it? Also, these billionaires, they're not getting away with anything. Trust me. When you're there, you're so much more than a human being. Okay? That you have to be cleansed to go where God was at. You had to be your evilness is stripped and taken away, but the facts remain. The information is maintained in perfection. It's hard to explain, but that's just how it is. And everyone is responsible for everyone else. That life should be kind to life. No exceptions. Religion, I think, came from the near-death experience. That's where I think, because what you come back, adults that come back are profoundly changed. And also beware of the frauds. I've in my studies of the near-death experience, there were accounts that I read that I could tell were not real, that they were fake, that it was all human thinking. You know what I mean? Everything could be explained. This guy, he could explain everything, you know what I mean, about what happened. I'm totally at a fucking loss at how any of it was done. Way above human thinking, but not this guy. He knew exactly, and so you have to kind of watch out from that. But watching others and their near-death experience, what you get is that it's so natural to be there that you don't want to come back. This is the place you don't want. Why do that? Loved ones, husbands, wives, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'd rather stay here. But the near-death experience is kind of strange, isn't it? Is that we're rejected. We're rejected. We're told, like me, I felt tricked. Others are like, they say, nope, you have to go back. You don't have a choice. They told me I had a choice. That's what intrigued one of the doctors that was watching, kind of understanding my near-death experience. Yeah. Religion was something that I glommed onto just to have other people that could understand, because I had gone through so much therapy getting over my PTSD that I refused to believe I had when I was younger, because I was a cocky fuck, you know what I mean? Yeah. And the resentments, all the psychological stuff that, I refused to understand when that was shown to me in a pretty plain light, you know what I mean? Through my own eyes, I understood, why I did what I did, why I acted the way I did, why risk-taking, and, religion was just part of the experience. It was natural for me to gravitate towards that because that's what I did when I was a kid. When I first came back, I had my mom take me to every church there was. And I asked her, is there any other She goes, well, Dad, these are Protestants. These are, you know what I mean? And she went through all the different churches. And I'm like, I wanted to try everything because I needed it. I wanted it. I craved it. I almost didn't want to live in a world without that feeling that I had there. It was really hard for me, very hard for me. So that's why I'm always kind of pissed off because I'm like, yeah, it wasn't. Adults come back and they're like, oh, I'm not afraid of death and everything's so wonderful. And I'm like, fuck, man, you guys fuck with me for the rest of my life. But then that's my journey. I saw the pain, the religion, I saw all that. And now I'm much simpler. I don't care what people think about me. It's my message, right? Is that you are responsible for the other people. you you are. You're responsible. If you have $1 billion, you've committed an incredibly sinful act in God's eyes. Not that you accumulated $1 billion, because some people are more talented and able than others. It's that you didn't share it. You didn't do the right thing with your abilities that God gave you. Oh, you're better, you're smarter, and that's why you have all the fucking money? Okay, fine. Congratulations. Now, what are you going to do with your money? Oh, I'm going to buy a big fucking boat and like 4 or 5 houses, and I'm going to invest in this and this so I can have even more money. See, that's a never-ending cycle of reinvesting instead of the time comes when you're supposed to share. Well, I don't quite have enough to share yet. You know, I lost 40 billion here and da-da-da-da, right? Dude, do you know how many children you could feed for it with $1 billion in real money? Do you know how many children you could feed with $44 billion of real money? You see, there's a price to pay when you get there and you're changed. You go on your journey. You go on a voyage of understanding of your life. And everyone that you could have helped just by trying, okay, you will live their life from birth to death. And it doesn't matter if they're still alive here either. Time is different there. Again, it's like explaining your iPhone to an amoeba. I'm not going to try. I'm just telling you basically what I was shown and told. You create your own hell because your information is contained perfectly, but now you're no longer that animal human being. Can you imagine, like, Hitler and Stalin and Saddam Hussein and these people showing up all of a sudden in this dimension where they're being smothered in love and understanding, and they're no longer human. They no longer have the animal brain, the glandular systems. There's no fear, there's no hunger, there's no nothing, and you have all knowledge. You are now truly a spiritual entity. And they show you your life. But you see, it's not just your life that you see. You see the lives of those you affected negatively, or how you negatively affected yourself by not helping those people. And it only takes, during this video, you could live the lives of 1 million people from birth to death, exactly as if that person was thinking, I'm that person. That's how you experience it. You experience it as that person. And that's the thing about being with God, is all of those beings can live the lives of all those other beings, no matter how advanced or non-advanced, as long as you're sentient. All knowledge, everything there, and it's all clean. It's just the information is no longer evil. That's what we are. When you're there, we look bad. That's why the little girls were afraid of me. okay? And the guy in black on the bench, okay? That we're animals, and all you have to do is look at the world and what we're doing to it, and how people are, and you can understand why we look that way in a place of love and understanding. The answer to my religious voyage was it was simply someplace I was looking to blend the God I knew existed with friends and acquaintances. The problem is that their God was vindictive, childish, negative, violent, destructive, all the worst things of men, okay? You are responsible. So trust me, these billionaires and these people who think that they're living the fucking high life, trust me, this is but a brief instant. This is a necessary step. It's just a brief instant in time. I saw a number of 27 billion years for age for the universe now that the web is looking deeper. They have no fucking idea what's going on, okay? But Hammeroff and Penrose, go read about microtubules and where consciousness and quantum mechanics reside. I believe they're intertwined completely, okay? That sentience and consciousness, those two things are special. And again, out of my pay grade. But all the evil in the world will be self-punished. So don't worry. Nobody gets away with anything, okay? Yeah, it's tragic. It really is. But you have to admit, it's the most perfect form of atonement for the lives we live now. You see, I'm sure there's races in other places that might want to go and look at primitive planets like ours and go, yeah, that's when you're going through the animal transitioning into a spiritual being, you go through this period of 10 or 20,000 years where it could swing either way. You could either, turn into this fucked up society and destroy yourselves, or you could turn it into a loving, caring, living within nature. Doesn't mean you can't have science. Science is something that the universe also wants, okay? It wants you to understand it. It wants you to communicate with the other sentients that are here. It wants everyone to be interconnected. So don't think that any of the bad people are going to get away with shit. I wish they could understand. I wish they could just look into my mind just for a moment and see what's going to happen. I bet a lot of them would change